Thank you, Army. Thanks. Previously, before modern technology set on, there are more cases of people engaging in spiritual practice and also receiving results in spiritual practice much quicker, much quicker. With the advent of technology, as His Holiness has said before, in one way it's good, it makes human life easier. But another way, because it makes human life easier, humans tend to want to do more with their time, and they want things fast, and they want things quick, and they want more things at their fingertips. So in another way, technology is quite damaging, because although outwardly, materialistically, physically things are easier, things don't become easier for the mind. Why? It is the same mind operating on more things than less things. Whereas life before is more simplistic, it is more simplistic because there are less things to occupy the mind. So therefore, in the previous times, we call that a better time, a better age, or a time that's more suitable for happiness, for people to have some peace, and people to have lives that are more harmonious and less stressful. On the whole, of course, there are people in the past, like rulers and etc., or travelers and explorers that had very stressful lives. But on the whole, in the general population. So with the advent of technology, physically everything looks easier, but mentally everything's more difficult, much more difficult. So therefore, before, when people engaged in spiritual practice, it was much easier, simply because there was less distractions. And if the mind is trained and learned, whatever distractions there are outside, it won't disturb the mind. The mind will remain the same. So that's why you have highly evolved beings who, if they develop that capacity in their mind, wherever they take rebirth, whether by choice or by karma. Some people, it's by karma they take rebirth. It's not always by choice. But evolved beings, when they take rebirth, the things around them don't distract them. Everything else can distract people, but things, the same situation, the same environmental phenomenons and attractions don't disturb them. And if they engage in those kind of so-called external attractions, they do it for a motivation that it benefits people or benefits others, although outwardly it looks the same. For example, they can go for a sports game, but they may be going for a sports game in order to please people who they're going with, in order to bring them to the Dharma and make them look more down to earth, as opposed to the other people who go to the sports game out of attachment for entertainment and to attachment for them to keep their mind occupied. So the difference is there. So evolved beings act and look and function exactly as all of us. Exactly, they look just like me, just like a normal person. But their motivation sets them apart. And their motivation sets them apart. Their action is exactly the same, but their results is very different. So the actions we engage in, as opposed to an involved being, exactly the same action, but it always comes out a different result. Always. Why? The motivation is different. The intention is different. The action is the same. Why is the action the same? The action is the same, A, time, place, and culture. Is it appropriate to act differently or do things differently Or will it shock people and create more confusion? Why? Normal beings' minds only can take so much. Their capacity is so much. Yes, there are normal beings whose mind is much broader and wider and can think bigger, but those are in the few. The majority is things that are not normal, they cannot take. So therefore, even evolved beings, they have to take on a physical, normal, everyday aspects in order to fit in. And endure the same weather conditions, the same disappointments, the same types of people, all these things. Because why? In their dealing with normal situations, everyday situations, you will see their extraordinary qualities. If they get hurt, if they go to a sports game, if someone cheats them, if someone praises them, how they react back to all that will be very different. And it might be one time or two times you notice a difference, but if you observe them long term, you will see that their attitude is quite different. What is that attitude? They still go to the sports game, they still enjoy it, but the enjoyment is different. It doesn't increase their attachment. It doesn't increase their attachment. They still get cheated. They still get lied to. They still get praised. People still give them gifts. But instead of getting the gift and they feel a big ego boost, they take the gift as using that as making a connection with the person towards the Dharma, towards something higher. So outwardly they say, oh, thank you for the gift. Oh, they give you a hug. They give you a kiss. They shake your hand. Oh, it's so wonderful. They give you thank you cards for your gift. And they might even give you a gift back because that's what you're used to. That's what you would think that is all right. But actually what they do with your gift, whether it's a flower from the heart, whether it's $50 million, whether it's a house, whether it's a book, whether it's a beautiful new cup, whether it's a piece of land, they will express the same thank you and appreciation and love and return your kindness with kindness. Why? If it's your mentality, if it's you. But immediately you'll say, yeah, they thanked me and they gave me a card and they gave me a gift. Yeah, great, that's wonderful. That's, that's nice. There's a nice person. But when we watch them over time, when we watch them again and again and again over time, what they do with the item is very different. And does the item create more greed in them or more desire in them? That's the second thing we'll see a difference. And how many people make offerings to them and does it affect them? Make gifts to them, does it affect them? Does their ego get bigger? We can see by that the difference in their attitude. Very, very big difference. So in this way, over time, when we stay with beings who are more evolved, we can see a difference in their attitude. Otherwise, if we look straight on, it's very hard to see a difference. Very, very hard. And the second thing is, even when evolved beings manifest or show anger, or they show unhappiness, or they show depression, or they show low states of mind, what they do with the depression, what they do with the low states of mind, how they act, also shows a difference. At that moment, in the heat of the anger, you can feel their anger, you can feel their unhappiness, you can feel they're very displeased. But if you think about it deeper, what are they displeased about? The actual situation, the actual immediate situation, or is it something deeper? And you have to observe that. You have to observe. If you promise them something and you don't do it, are they angry just about that thing? And if they're angry just about that thing, why is it some people do that and they're angry, and some people do that, they're not angry? So we have to look a little bit deeper. It all depends on motivation. Even evolved beings who get depressed and unhappy and angry, they show anger to you. They say nasty things to you. They shout, they tell you off, they even chase you out, they even maybe hit you, they maybe throw things at you, they maybe even stop their relationship with you. You have to think, why? If they're so forgiving, if they're so giving, and they've always been kind consistently to everyone, and their kindness never changes, is this perhaps another form of kindness? Is this another form of testing and showing us the level of our mind? Testing doesn't mean they're like puppeteers. Testing means to give you a clear view of where you are at, what your level is at. Is that not another form of giving? Is that not love? Why? If they show negative actions towards you, how you react back will determine where you take rebirth. Very clearly. Why does it determine where you take rebirth? Because If you act like a worldly being and your level is a worldly being, definitely you take worldly rebirth, negative rebirth. If you act like an extraordinary being due to training, due to practice, due to faith, due to devotion, due to meditation, due to contemplation, due to study, you won't take a negative rebirth. And what are these evolved beings here to help us with? Definitely to help us take a better rebirth. They're not concerned so much about this life. If you ask them petty things, oh, will I have a relationship? Will I get pregnant? Will I not get pregnant? Will I have 10 wives? Will I get money? They're very bored, and they don't answer that much. Why? Not because they can't tell or they can tell, because that's not their concern. Because they're looking at your string of lives in the future again and again and again and again. So their vision is bigger. It's like a mother who goes shopping and she wants to buy her son, her daughter, a nice suit of clothing so they can go to the birthday party and look good, look clean, look mannered. And there's a bigger purpose, and it reflects the family, and it's good in the neighborhoods like that. Whereas the kid's running there saying, can I have a lollipop? Can I have a lollipop? Pulling them like, give me a lollipop. And yeah, don't bother me. Go away, go away, go away. The kid's interested in a little lollipop. The mother maybe wants to buy the child a guitar to learn music, maybe a nice new outfit, or maybe something to train the child up for the future. So the child is not interested, and the mother might even get irritated and say, go away. Quiet. You're such a spoiled brat. Why don't you listen to mommy? Can say things like that. And the child will say, I hate you, and walk off. And throw a little tantrum and stay quiet for a few days. What's the difference? A mother is much more evolved than a child, much more. And the love is much more greater than a child. Much more. So therefore, an evolved being with us is likened to that example of a mother to a child. Whereas if you're given beautiful things, you're given praises, you're given nice things, and you immediately react, and you want to help, and you want to show up, and you want to be around, that's wonderful. Even dogs can do that. When you say nice things to dogs, they wave their tail, they come to you. When you scold them, they run away. We're surely better than that. So with evolved beings, when they show anger, it could be anger. I'm not saying all evolved beings are not having anger, but it's what they do with their anger. Feeling anger, having anger, is an emotion that comes with the body, with the mind. No enlightened being has not manifested anger. No enlightened being. Even His Holiness the Dalai Lama sometimes manifests anger and will tell people off. We've seen it. He'll scold people. But what disbenefit does it bring? Doesn't bring any disbenefit. Why? We know what's his intention. It doesn't, just because he's a Dalai Lama doesn't mean he doesn't get angry. Of course he gets angry. He's harassed by people all the time. He has problems all the time. People bring their problems to him all the time, and they don't listen to what he says. I'm guilty of that. So of course His Holiness gets angry, but his anger doesn't bring more harm. He doesn't hold on to it. He doesn't get you back. He doesn't live on that. And it doesn't spoil him for the rest of his life. He doesn't get into depression. He doesn't need to take drugs and take booze or anything. Nothing. So my point is this, is that when evolved beings even show anger, yes, they're angry. Yes. Or they're depressed. Yes, they're depressed. What are they angry about? What they are depressed about is different than us. What they are angry or depressed about is different than us. The second thing is what they do with that anger, what they do with that depression is very different than us. Very, very, very different. In fact, they can turn their anger and depression around into something even more powerful. Normal people can do that. So-called unevolved people, if someone's been put down, oh, you're trash, you're no good, you're not going to be anything, it pushes them to make themselves something. I've heard that before. I've heard people who's put down, and they put down so much, they push themselves to make themselves something. But they do it because that determination comes. But sorry to say, what's the intention? The intention is, I'm going to show you. So to show off to one or a few people that have hurt them, they will spend 10, 20 years building up so that they can walk around very arrogantly to show off to people that have put them down. Enlightened people or evolved people don't think like that. You put them down, you put them down, you put them down. What do they think immediately? On many levels. Depends on their level. It can be something like, oh, that person perceives like that, I need to do something. That person sees like that, I need to do something. If they see like that, it will not benefit them. I will do something. I'll work harder, I'll do this harder, I'll achieve this harder. They have no sense of self. They have no sense of me or I, or it's painful for them. No sense. They think I'll do more. And even people that put them down, if you go to that evolved person, you say, I want to live. In order for me to live, you need to die. With no hesitation, they'll tell you, yes, I can die for you. It's not even words. And it doesn't mean that when they're dying, they won't be scared, or when you're killing them, they won't be nervous. They will, but they have that determination. They can die for you. No difficulty at all. Why? They have trained for many lifetimes for that type of mind. Many, many lifetimes. So life after life, although they don't want praise, they get praise. Although they're not interested in money, they get money. Although they're not interested in a relationship, people want to have a relationship with them. Although they're not interested in physical appearance, for the sake of physical appearance, they get pleasant physical appearance. Although they're not interested in fame or name or anything for the sake of it, if they look for or they want it, it will come to them. Why? The karmic repercussions of thinking it for others always return. So like that, if we're around such a person, people say, oh, if you treat them well, you get good karma. You treat them bad, you get bad karma. It's something like that, but it's not as serious as that. See, what's more serious than if you're around such a person and you do something bad, you get bad karma or good karma, instead of thinking of that is more on a higher level, is if you have this type of person, it's like if you want to get into business and there's a CEO who really wants to train you up and help you. And they want to take you under their wings and really guide you and make you successful and help you all the way. So if you have such a CEO of a very major international, multinational company, and they want to do this for you, and they have no motive, and you tell them to get lost, or you offend them, or you're rude to them, you're always late, you treat them badly, you send SMSs, you disappoint them, you break your promises to them, how is a CEO going to help you? How? So if you have this great CEO who says, hey, you just came out of business school, and I'm going to train you up, I'm going to take you under my wing for the next 5 years, I'm going to make sure you become top-notch in this world. I'm going to make sure of that. But you got to be on time. You got to listen to what I say. You got to follow what I say. You have to submit part of yourself to me. If you don't do that, how? So if you're always late, you always drop things, you always are bumbling, you always are forgetting, you always are not doing your part or not carrying out your assignments, or you have to be chased. Once, twice, 3 times, okay. After a while, what is the CEO going to do? The CEO says, well, look, I want to help you, but you obviously don't want to be helped. So then you go off. Whose fault is that? Similarly, for an evolved being who wants to train you in higher thoughts, an evolved being who wants to train us, myself, in higher thoughts, if we don't keep our commitments, if we don't keep our samaya, if we don't keep a good relationship, samaya, with our evolved being, how do we get evolved? If we're always late, and we always disappoint, and we're always not paying attention, or we always don't do what we're supposed to do, and sometimes we're even rude, or we gossip about the CEO behind his back, and we say negative things, or other people say negative things about the CEO, and we listen and we have doubts, how will the CEO train us up? It's a very simple example. We don't need to think any deeper. Oh, is the CEO a Buddha? Is the CEO evolved? Oh, is the CEO practicing the right business ethics? Is the CEO from the right lineage? Is the CEO practicing right things? Look, if the CEO has knowledge and he's doing well and he wants to help you, you're very lucky. What could you give back to the CEO? At the end of the training, you say thank you and pat him on the back. Thank you very much. That's what he doesn't need. Similarly, if we always break our commitments, we always make up excuses, we always have to be chased, we always have to be pushed, and always things have to be explained to us again and again and again. How does a CEO train us up? Very logical. And that's why we need a spiritual teacher. In worldly life, we need a spiritual teacher. In worldly life, we need spiritual help. In worldly life, we need help, full stop. Even non-spiritual teachers. We need everything we have is acquired from another teacher or someone who taught us. Everything cannot be learned by books. I was just reading a commentary on a spiritual teacher here, and it said very clearly, if we only read books to study, we can only reach a very low certain point. Many questions cannot be answered. We need a real life teacher with experience to tell us these things, to explain. If books are all right, then the Buddha would have emanated as Buddha books, just Buddha books. He would never have spoken or given one word of teachings. Lord Buddha lived to 81, and he spent over 40 years traveling and teaching length and breadth, east, west, north, south, and India, sometimes appearing at 2 or 3 places simultaneously to teach. Sometimes he'll be in the north in the form of Kala Chakra, giving Kala Chakra teachings. He'll be near the north in Varanasi, giving sutra teachings, and at the same time he can be in the south, manifesting his Vajradhara, giving another tantric type of teachings. Simultaneously, it says in the scriptures, he can. So if teachings or teachers are not important, that's why people say, oh, I don't need a guru, I don't need a teacher, I know everything. Yeah, I'm sure you know a lot, but everything? So therefore, if teachers are not necessary, Buddha would never have manifested as a universal teacher. He is called a sage, a teacher. His real reference is a sage or a teacher. If we can all do it by books, then we don't need to do long life prayers. We don't need to do any dedications. And whether the lamas or teachers or masters live or not, who cares? We have our books, what? We can study in the privacy of our home, what? No one has ever gotten enlightened without a teacher. No one. Impossible. Not in this world system, not in this age, not at this juncture. There may be other world systems where Buddha has manifested and turned the wheel of Dharma. Buddhas, different Buddhas. And they have given other set of teachings where those people can run on their own for a while, but not at this place, according to what I've studied up on. So therefore, in this time and age where time is of the essence, because we make it of the essence. Time is short because we make it short. And we occupy our days with entertainment, keeping our mind busy, keeping our eyes and visual and ears busy, and we don't want to be alone. We're afraid to be alone. We're lonely. We have fear all the time in this age where all this is very prevalent due to the fact that technology is very big and very widespread, and therefore we have focused on the outside and we have not had the time to focus on the inside. We feel all these emotions. So therefore, during this time when the distractions are great, and everybody uses the famous word commitment. I have commitments, therefore I don't have time. You should have commitments. Your commitment should be to your enlightenment, to yourself, to the people you love. That is your highest commitment. Every other commitment you have brings very small, short-term results. Very short-term. So therefore, in this age where we have made ourselves busy, we claim that we're busy, and we create busy situations in order to entertain ourselves, whether it's with going on trips all the time, whether it's going for coffee with friends and talking about things that bring no benefit to anyone, whether it's immersed in making money, whether it's preoccupying our loneliness with getting a family and children, whether it is us preoccupying ourselves with a spouse or with pets or with friends or with hobbies. We just occupy and we take up all our time and focus on this to escape from ourselves, escape from loneliness, escape from a life of senselessness. We think we have escaped, but it gets deeper and deeper and more and more and more. Why? Those are only temporary remedies. In this age where we keep ourselves busy with all types of distractions and not fulfill our commitment and not keep our real commitment to ourselves, then higher practices, extensive practices that are very effective is not available to us. Or if it's available, we make it that we are unavailable to it. So therefore, in this day and age where we still suffer the exact same things that everybody else in humankind have suffered for many, many aeons, same thing, only more distracted, then we need to do a practice. We need a practice that's concise and clear. Something that can fit into our so-called busy lives. That gives us a perspective. Some people say, I've taken refuge. I've taken refuge with this Lama. How have you taken refuge? Oh, because I filled out a card and sent it in with $15. Or some people say, oh, I've taken refuge because I was at the ceremony. where if you had taken refuge, you would know who your Lama is. You will keep your refuge commitments, 12 of them, very firm. And anytime you have an infraction on them, you will purify them. And if you had real refuge, taking refuge, the prerequisite would be fear of the 3 lower realms. Great fear of impermanence and death, and fear of the results of future lives. That would be a lower case refuge. Higher case refuge is not only am I in this situation, many others are in this situation. And it isn't just fair for me to think about myself alone. I need to think about everybody else. So therefore, I need to take refuge in order that I can save and help others from the same predicament as myself. And therefore, I need to take refuge as a first step. And with that feeling burning and burning and burning in you very strong, and not being able to sit or sleep or eat or function unless you do the Dharma practice, very strong. And you're not comfortable where you are. Unless you have that type of feeling and that kind of motivation, simply being herded in like a group of animals to a refuge ceremony and saying, I took refuge, does not connotate you have taken refuge. Does not. Does not. So therefore, even people who have taken refuge, it says here, you have not taken refuge. This is Serkun Tenshap Rinpoche. You have not even taken refuge. It is just a game you went through. If you had really taken refuge with the correct motivation, then your refuge would be quite intense. Quite intense. So therefore, people say, oh, I took refuge with this Lama, this Lama. You just say, oh, yes, 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 yes. And when you inquire further, you ask them more, actually, they haven't taken refuge. It's just a ceremony they thought they went through for. So therefore, there are even people who go for the highest yoga teachings from very eminent and qualified lamas, but they do not do their commitments. They do not do their practice. They don't feel a yearning or any type of activation to do their practice. They don't feel any excitement or any type of urgency to do their practice. They know nothing about it. They don't investigate, they don't ask, they don't look, they don't read, they don't do anything. They just spend their lives and months and years eating, sleeping, listening to music, running around with friends, having coffee, and having a good time. And 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year passes. Even though they have something so precious like a CEO giving them something, a very powerful and wonderful business manual that if they read through and follow, it's a full proof that they're going to be successful. Even still, they take the manual and throw it out or not be interested. Or maybe even perhaps ignore the CEO. So therefore, there are people who receive highest empowerments, really highest, that would take us years, that in the past the Mahasiddhas would train their students for 10 to 12 years of brutal training. In the case of Milarepa, for over 13 years of brutal training before he even received one word of Dharma, never mind empowerments. And that's why Milarepa has become enlightened. But those of us who have received the highest yoga empowerments, no commitment, no practice, and even if we do so-called practice, it's just very cheap, quick recitations. No thinking. How do I know that there's no thinking? How do I know? Because you observe the person's speech, you observe the way they act, you observe their mental consistency, and you observe what their mind is focused on. Then you can tell that they're doing their practice. Why? From doing higher level practices, you're going to have higher level results. You will be committed. You'll be focused. Your mind will expand to think about others. Your reality will be different. If you do, for example, the Yamataka Tantras or the Chakra Samvada Tantras, your whole reality will be different. Your perception will be very clear, very focused, and very strong. Why? You're in the perception, and you're in the mode, and you're in the visualization of Yamataka all day. We can visualize ourselves as losers. I don't know how to talk. I'm afraid to talk. I'm afraid to be rejected. I'm not used to talking. I'm not used to doing this work. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm this type of person. And we put all these labels on us, and we say it every day, and we tell other people that to excuse ourselves from doing more. We tell other people that, and then we become that. We become the person we tell other people that we are. So therefore, we can't do it. Who did that? Ourselves. So the whole point of taking higher level empowerments, I am not a loser. I am not stupid. I am not lazy. I am not socially inept. People will like me. I can do more. I can push myself more. I can achieve more because I am Yamataka. So the minute we do this, we don't become Yamataka. We don't become Lama Tsongkhapa. We don't become Tara. But to reaffirm this every day by having a clear, dynamic, enlightened perception of ourselves, we are opening the door to bring the real Buddha seed out. 1, by doing our commitments every day, it is to make us a committed, stable, reliable person. Why? For Dharma practice, you need those ingredients to be reliable and to be dependable. That people don't need to chase you or ask you anything. For Dharma practice, what do you think? You get an initiation, you just go off? For Dharma practice, you need reliability, dependability. Why? Because you have to be consistent in your practice. If you don't have those qualities in life, if your CEO, your Lama gives you assignments or a work job, and you don't have those qualities in life, and you don't push yourself to those qualities, never mind achieving those small things in life, you won't achieve any spiritual attainments. Why? You don't have the ingredients, and you don't want to develop it. So if we want to sit there all day saying, I'm not good, I can't talk, I can't push myself, I don't want to embarrass myself, I'm not able to handle this, I'm not experienced, I'm a bad person, no one will listen to me, I'm inept. And we say this over and over and over again. We reaffirm this. We create the reality. It becomes that. And we start acting like that because what we have said to the other person, we have to match, don't we? We have to match. And then we do this year after year, month after month, day after day, hour and minute after minute, all the time. So the whole point of receiving higher empowerments after training in Lamrim, the whole point of training in this, the whole point of receiving it is to change this whole reality. To stop saying, I can't. To stop saying, in the future, I will. But to say, I will now. I will do it now. So the Lamas give us commitments, such as holding our vows. And we should even know what we're holding. Some of us don't even know what we're holding before. We're just too lazy to investigate. We'll go to bookstores and get books that we like, but we won't go to bookstores to get Dharma books regarding our commitments. We find it very difficult to make offerings to the 3 jewels, to collect merit, but we find it very easy to spend for coffee with a beautiful girl, with a beautiful friend, for entertainment, or for an ego trip. We're very easy to spend. For our pets, for our friends, for ourselves, very easy to spend, but to make offerings, very difficult. To make an effort to read more about commitments, very difficult. Why is that? Because we have put this label on ourselves, I can't, I won't. That's why. No one stops us except ourselves. Don't tell me that you have only certain hours a day. How much effort you put in is quality, is not the time. Is not the time. Is not the time. So therefore, if you always say, I cannot conduct meetings, I cannot talk publicly, I cannot do sales, I cannot do Dharma, I can't do retreats, I can't keep my commitments, I don't know if I can hold myself, I don't know if I can stop myself from doing the 10 unethical actions, I don't know if I can do that. And if you always say that, you always become that. Always. Always. I cannot. You can. Why? Our whole purpose of being in this room is to become a Buddha. There's no other reason to be here. So if we can't push ourselves a little more in daily, ordinary life, don't make a joke and say, hey, never mind, I think I won't be a Buddha for a long, 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 long time. It sounds funny, and to other idiots and other people who are just as stupid as I am, they'll find it very funny. But actually, you plant that seed in your mind. It's very dangerous. Why? Do you think every single lifetime will be as pleasant as this one? And even in this one, how many years left? In this one, if you look at yourself, you're fading as life goes on. How many years left? What's left? Yes, we have a nice house, we have nice clothes, we have a nice car, we have everything nice. But what's left? What's next? We have kids, we have commitments. We give 25 years of our blood, sweat, and tears to our kids. Once they grow up, what's left? They come back once in a while, have Chinese New Year's dinner with us. The end. What's left? That's if they come. Some kids don't even come back. Like me, I'm a bad kid. I never went back. So what? Nothing. What's left? So then when we get old, the thing is, go to a sunshine home and go with other people that are your age so that you don't feel so old. Or you get a pet to keep you company. Why? Pets don't talk back. Pets don't tell you about you. And pets depend on you for food. It's not that they love you. They depend on you for food, so they need to you. It's not anything more. Pets don't really have compassion. They have allegiance because someone's feeding them. It's not compassion. If we can love a pet that has no compassion, surely we can love human beings too, or higher beings, lower beings. And maybe our pet was our enemy in our previous life, so they came back to us as a pet, so we're bound to take care of them. They create a lot of problems and difficulties for us, but we can't help it. Just like children, just like partners, just like spouses. They could have been a very terrible, horrible enemy that came back. We're forced to take care of them through the force of karma. We are bound to them. Can be. Why can it not be? Definitely. So the point is, what do we do that for? We use that as a meditation to become focused on higher things, to take care of our responsibilities. Because when we focus on higher things, it becomes very easy to take care of normal responsibilities. Normal responsibilities such as house and family and friends and all these stuff is very easy to take care of. Because why? It's very small already. But if our mind's at that level where this is very hard, higher things are always difficult. So to take higher Anuttara Yoga Tantric empowerments, such as Yamataka, Tara, Guya Samaja, Hevajra, etc., etc., Kala Chakra. That's why His Holiness and great lamas always travel the world and they give these empowerments, is to change our reality. And we do commitments to become stable, dependable people, that we do what we say. So that we cut away at the I cannot, I am not, I am not, I am not, I am not, I cannot, I'm this, I'm that, all these labels. All these labels we use for many years to hide, to avoid, to cover. And where does it lead us? Into our current situations. No control of anything in our future. No control. In the modern age, modern meaning the Kali Yuga, the negative age, to harp on people about your future life and that you will take negative rebirth is very hard unless you study one of the philosophical texts where it points clearly about a future and previous life, and you can debate and be clear about that. It's very hard. And in the modern age where people have so many conveniences and distractions are so great, to talk about future lives and previous lives, there's an inkling, there's a belief, but to be fully committed to it in order to practice Dharma is very difficult. So in the modern age, what we talk about is emotional strife, emotional depression. The results of negative emotions that bring us to depression, loneliness, unhappiness, not getting along with people, disharmony. That's what we need to focus on for Dharma practice. And all of us are in fear of emotional depression, sadness, loneliness, that we might feel was caused from us. Because deep down inside, the reason we're lonely, the reason we're scared, the reason we avoid, we know deep down inside it's us. But it's very hard to face. Why? No one's brave enough to tell us. The few that told us, we told them off. And two, we always distract ourselves with things so that we don't have to think about it. It's very hard. It's very, very hard. So in this day and age, the way to give Dharma to people is to talk about emotional strife and the way benefits of the Dharma can give to their emotional strife. And then they practice on this level. As they practice more and they practice more, they will gain abilities to logically perceive future lives or directly perceive future lives. Logically means by study, contemplation, and thinking. Debate. Debate doesn't mean in the monastery we can debate. And they go, yes, that could be. Inferential logic. Example, where there's smoke, there's a fire. You don't need to see the fire. There's smoke, there's fire. We can do it that way. And then on a higher level, through practice, we can directly perceive. If we do certain practices, we can directly perceive previous lives. We can directly perceive. Why? If you can remember things in your early childhood that you could not have remembered unless you're in a certain situation or something recalls, or you go back to a childhood place and, it jerks your memory and you remember, environmental conditions can help you. Therefore, meditation is an environmental condition. If you lived somewhere 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and you can't remember for the life of you what you did there, who was there, or the color or anything. But if you go back to that house, you go back to the area, and you take a look, you go down, you stroll down memory lane, you go, oh yeah. Oh, yeah. And it all comes back. Why? Because an environmental condition jerks you. Meditation is an environmental condition. What is an environmental condition? Something outside of you that prompts the inside of you. Practice is an environmental condition. Doing pujas is an environmental condition. All these are environmental conditions. It's all very logical. Environmental conditions can be tangible and non-tangible. Non-tangible environmental conditions is something like meditation. Tangible environmental conditions is like a place we return back to. Very logical. So therefore, we can remember things when we're very young that we would not ordinarily remember. If something prompts it to remember, and remembering it is a clear indication that your memory is continuous. Your mind is continuous. From now, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, it's continuous. If there was a break, then you can only go to this part. You can't go past that. But because the mind is continuous, kechik, we say in Tibetan, continuous. Therefore, if you go back to here, there's a mental block, something environmental creates it to go past that, you can go past it. Why? Because it's continuous. It's like a road. If we have a long road and there's a bridge connecting it, like from here to Penang, if the bridge is out, of course we can't get to the other side. But if we get to the bridge and we run out of petrol, it's not that we can't go. We just have to run to the petrol station, get some petrol, put the car in, and then we can go. That's an environmental condition. Very logical. Similarly, in our mind, as long as the bridge is not broken, and it's not because it's continuous, then if we recall back, we can remember. So therefore, if the bridge is continuous, we can recall back to our early childhood. We can definitely recall back to the time we were inside our mother's womb. Oh yes, why? The time we were in our mother's womb, and now the mind is the same. And then at the time of conception, same, the mind is same. The mind we had at the time of conception is the same mind we have now. Prior to conception is the same mind that we have now. Why? If the mind prior to conception is different at the time of conception, then there's a break. Then we cannot be the same person reincarnating. Very simple. We cannot be the same person reincarnating. We're a different person. So then if we are a different person reincarnating, how can we have negative karma from our previous life? It's all cut what? All the negative karma from our previous life is cut. So when we take rebirth, it's a whole fresh new start. So this life we can do what we want. We can do whatever we want. We can grow our hair long, sleep with 5,000 people, men, women. We can have one relationship after another. We can drink all we want. We can wear white all day. We can do whatever we want. And when we die, we have a fresh new start. Why? Because our mind breaks. So therefore, every single lifetime must be perfect. Every single lifetime must be fabulous. Why? It's a fresh new slate. So if that's the case, why is it when we have a fresh new slate, some of us are retarded? Some of us are born deaf and mute and dumb and totally incapable. Why? Because some outer omnipotent deity put us here to learn a lesson? To put us here to learn something? Learn what? There's no continuity to learn anything. And then when we die, how do we continue to the next life? It's illogical. Why? Some people may argue, say, well, we continue to the next life because we haven't learned our lesson. I've heard that from New Ageists many, many times when I went into debate in the past. Well, if we continue a new life and we're learning a lesson, then the lessons we have learned, it's been learned. Why does the negative karma still follow us and we still have to suffer? Why? It doesn't make sense. And how do we learn our own lesson when there's no one to show us? Oh, the lesson is life. Oh, please. Tell that to people in brick fields. You're blind as a bat because you're here to learn a lesson that there's light. Doesn't make sense. I don't put it down. I mean, that theory may help people at a certain level, and I say it's okay. That's why I say it's all right, because that's the level they need to get to the next level. But it is not authoritative. It is not complete. It's not thorough. It's not pervasive. Makyaba means it's not pervasive. Pervasive means it doesn't hold water all the way through. So therefore, if our previous life in this life, there's a break, and we start an all new slate, then we don't carry all the negative karma from our previous life, do we? Then Rinpoches would never be recognized. You start all over, stupid. So the minute a Rinpoche shows up, they give him a slap on his butt. Wake up, it's a new life. And then so-called high lamas like the Dalai Lama, they won't have any attainments. They won't have anything. How is that possible? If that's possible, then Buddha's previous life could not have been a bodhisattva, striving in every life to become a Buddha. That means the Buddha, when he died, when he's born again, start all over, Buddha. Think about it. How's that possible? So then how do we practice every single life? How do we practice every single life, one after another, to attain the goal of Buddhahood? That means in every single life, you start all over again. Can you imagine all the work you've done for Dharma this life, whatever teeny work you've done? Whatever teeny donations, whatever teeny help, whatever teeny cleaning. Oh, look, I cleaned the altar. Let me dedicate my merit. Then when you drop dead, you don't carry that with you either. What? Next life, start all over again. Does that make sense to you? That's why I say with logic, we can debate through nihilism and a belief in an omnipotent type of deity that controls everything. You can debate it through. Isn't that what intelligence is for? Why is it when we have intelligence, we're not allowed to use it and ask questions? Some places they say, don't ask, just believe. Don't ask, just believe. So why give me intelligence? Just make me into an apple fruit. That's it. Why give me intelligence, but I can't ask? Oh, you are given this intelligence so you can make a free choice. I'm making a free choice. Help me. Let me ask you a question. Excuse me. And then they say, but you can't ask that. Then why give me a brain? Make my skull empty. I mean, it's so contradictory. That's why when we debate with logic, cannot. That's why when we listen to more Dharma talks, our faith in ourselves and that there's a path to become better, become stronger. From books, you cannot learn that. That's why when we listen to Dharma talks, our faith becomes stronger and our practice becomes stronger. Based on what? The logic of it. That's why I tell people in Dharma centers, we have a throne for the teacher to teach. Why? We're uplifting the Dharma, for the Dharma to be conveyed. The more Dharma we listen to, the clearer it becomes. How many years of Dharma have we missed? Aka, we say too bad. And every time we miss Dharma, it's too bad. Why? We lose out. We lose out. Therefore, if your previous life is cut off and when you're born again, it starts again, then you shouldn't have all this crap with you. The karma doesn't come along. If you don't believe in previous life, if you start in this life, it's a clean slate. What? If this life you just start out and there's no previous life, you were put here. If you were put here, then you must start out with a clean slate evenly. Even Stephen. But we don't start out even Stephen. And many people in the world, unlike here in beautiful Malaysia, they don't even have a safe haven country to live in. Some are born in war and drink dirty water or lose their mother or lose their father when they're very young and they wander the streets. What kind of lesson is that? What kind of clean slate is that? That doesn't make sense either. So if an omnipotent person, a being, put us here to learn a lesson, then once we learn our lesson, next life we don't have to take all this garbage with us, right? Because if we don't learn our lesson, we keep taking this garbage with us every life. Instead of becoming better, we become worse. It's like a kid who fails third grade. He can't go to third grade. He's got to go back to third grade. Where God failed third, go to fourth, fail fourth, go to fifth, fail fifth, go to sixth. Where God? Certainly not in Malaysia. Oh, I know one or two people. Never mind. But anyway, certainly not. I'm not thinking about Cha, leave him alone. Certainly not. So if we want to use the reincarnation theory, we go all the way with it. If we want to use the God theory, we go all the way with it. We debate and we think through, since we have intelligence. So therefore, in the reincarnation theory, if we want to go all the way, what's all the way? Not pick here, pick here, pick here, pick here, pick here, and then da-da-da, I form my own little Buddhism. Somehow you became the fifth universal monarch. You bumped Maitreya off. You've appeared, and you don't need to manifest in harsh, in North India, hot in Bodh Gaya. You can manifest in Kuala Lumpur under the Petronas Twin Towers. Isn't that wonderful? A New Age Buddha. And you can even call yourself, not Maitreya, you can call yourself Disco Maitreya. Just call yourself DM. Impossible. Impossible. So, if we have the same mind at the time of conception as we do now, it is all probability that prior or before conception, we also have the same life. Same mind. And if we had the same mind prior to conception, all the things that mind had done with its previous body and the actions and karma must also come along with the mind, and therefore molding our attitude, our perception, our emotions, and what we are predestined to do. Habituation. If that is the case, then if we do meditations that help us, or we have environmental factors that help us to remember childhood, why is it not we don't have environmental factors that help us to remember a previous life? If we can remember a previous life, if there is any benefit in that, why isn't there a life before that, and before that, and before that, and before that, continuous? And every single one of those continuous previous lives, hundreds and thousands, we did not commit negative actions and positive. Why only look at this life? And hence, all those previous lives and actions we have done created the person we are now, upbeat, happy, loving, compassionate, generous, not attached, open, with wisdom, or fearful, scared, hiding, jealous, miserly, selfish, mind games, because all those previous lives leave a disposition. And what our previous lives have done more, we will do predominantly now. So if our previous lives predominantly focused on spiritual practice, in this life we'll immediately go to spiritual practice, even at a very young age. Immediately. With no one pushing us or telling us or forcing us. We will do spiritual practice and continue our journey in this life without anybody pushing us. So if our previous life we played a lot of mind games, we avoid it, we hide, in this life we'll do the same thing. If our previous lives we were in the states that we were very miserly or jealous, maybe we were a hungry spirit, where we always want food, want company, want money, then in this life we'll be very greedy, very miserly and very tight. If our previous life were animals, then in this life we'll chase after one thing: relationships. Always relationship. We don't get it, we can become depressed. We get Tao Fung. Why do we get Tao Fung? Because of this mind that always looks for relationships. Why? Because the previous life, we were all interested in just one thing. It all matches. And so therefore what we do in this life and what we're focused on in this life will affect our future lives. So in this life, if we're only concerned about physical appearance, only that, we will get the result of that in future lives. If in this life we're only interested in booze and alcohol and having a good time and sexual preoccupations, we're only interested in that, and we only chase after that, then our future life, the result will resemble the cause. We can take a life of an animal. Definitely. If in this life we're only preoccupied with money and money and money and wealth and material possessions and houses, we're only preoccupied for the sake of it. For the sake of it and only for it, and thinking it brings us security, it's a very high chance we can take rebirth into a lower existence where we're poverty-stricken, or we're maids, or we're under the control of others, or we're in places that we work very hard, it's very difficult to get physical support. Why? We think, but we gave so much in this life, we did so much in this life. Yes, you did, but how about your previous lives? And all those potencies are in our mind. So doing Dharma practice will negate everything. Everything. Why does it negate everything? Because it gives you, A, the wisdom to think what you're thinking now. So it tells you what's wrong. B, it will teach you the method. C, you engage. And D, it has a Sangha to support you in your practice until you can stand up on your own. So therefore, I take refuge in the Buddha and my Guru, who is one. I take refuge in the Dharma, who gives me the supreme method. And I take refuge in the Sangha, who gives me the supreme support and example. Sanghas are people who give us examples. I take refuge in the three jewels from my heart. Thinking like that in a very degenerate age, thinking like that with a very degenerate mind, thinking like that with a mind that's very distracted, I take refuge in the Buddha, in any Buddha, in any Buddha. And I take refuge in a practice that is suitable to me for my lazy, short-tempered, and very busy, inverted commas, life. What's more convenient? If every day I take refuge in Lama Tsongkhapa, visualizing Buddha Shakyamuni in his heart. And in Buddha Shakyamuni's heart, I visualize Vajradhara. And in Vajradhara's heart, I visualize the letter Hong to represent the clear light mind. And I visualize Lama Tsongkhapa clearly. And on the left is the region of Tantra. On the right is the region of Sutra. Floating on a white cloud, very beautiful, very alive and bright. And this white cloud extends back to the king of the land of the joyous abode, the monarch, the future Buddha to come, Maitreya. And from this, every single day, I visualize and I take refuge in order to cut my imprints. In order to cut my imprints, I visualize every single day, and everything that I have just spoken about, we meditate. Simply reciting refuge doesn't help. We meditate on what I talked about, the continuity of lives, the continuity of the mind, how karma affects, and the logic behind it. If we think about the logic behind it, back and forth, sometimes we have doubt, sometimes we have faith, sometimes we have doubt, sometimes we have confidence, but eventually when we think more and more, confidence will grow. Immediately when you meditate, you won't get confidence. Why? The mind has many factors affecting it. Karma, time, precision, focus, awareness. There's a lot of things affecting it. Some of us doing our inverted commas meditations, if we can simply stay awake, it is an incredible attainment. If we can simply take away, why? Signs of many lifetimes as an animal. Many lifetimes as an animal. Many, many, many lifetimes. Immediately previous lifetime, not necessary. Immediately your previous lifetime, you don't necessarily have to be a monkey. But many lifetimes before you were animals, because we have millions of lifetimes. So maybe some of us out of 1,500,000 was an animal. Maybe some of us 499,999 was an animal. So in this life, we're sleepy, we're sloth, we're lazy, we can't focus, we can't stay awake. Why? Because those imprints are very, very strong. And if we don't cut it now, next life, we'll have to visit you in the zoo. Yeah, if you're lucky. If you're born in Antarctica, you can forget it, I'm not going there. I went to Australia a few years back, and I went with a group of people who like to eat. They like to shop for food. They like to talk about food. They like to pack up their bags to take the food home, although they sold the exact same food in Malaysia, and I told them they didn't believe me. There was this one lady who, on the day we were flying off, there was a group. 3 hours before the airport, she ran to the grocery store to Australia to buy this package called I Can't Believe It's Butter. You guys have seen that here. I can't believe it's a margarine substitute. I can't believe it's butter. I buy that all the time at cold storage, and I use it at home because I don't want to get fat. Okay? She went and bought a whole box of it. I think 2 or 3 boxes, all packed. She came back, I said, what's that, what's that, what's that? She opened it, she says, I can't believe it's butter. I said, I can't believe it's butter either. I said to her, we can get this in Malaysia, you know. She goes, can I? No lah, this is from Australia. I said, there are ships and boats now, dearie. There are export importers, dearie. And there are Australians and all types of guailos here. And they like those things too, so they have special, like in Bangsa. I said, you can get that. She says, no, it's not the same thing. It's an imitation. I said, it's the same thing. It is the exact same thing. Trust me. She didn't believe me. She didn't believe it at all. She felt that if she bought that from Australia, that it's Australian when she goes home and eat, and she doesn't need to eat, trust me, that she's high class. We have foreign imported food. And the whole trip was about shopping for food. When we went back to say, hey, you got extra luggage? I said, I do now, thanks to you. I can't believe it's butter. I mean, I didn't have much, so they used my excess luggage. And we went back. You cannot believe with how many, oh God, there was 12, 13 boxes of food. All food. They even went to the Chinese stores there to buy food. I'm like, Chinese stores? Got Chinese stores here, what? Why would you go to Australia, go eat at every restaurant that you can? And then they were going to some restaurants, and they asked me to go. I said, no, it's okay. Can I skip out? Oh, they were very angry. Don't want to eat with us, I said, A, I'm on a diet. B, I don't want to go really, I just want to relax. What I want to do is run around town. And after eat, guess what? We go to the casino there. I forgot what the name of the casino in Melbourne. Oh, what is it? How do you know, Pauline? Crown Pacific! What's the Four Noble Truths? What's the casino in Australia? Crown Pacific! Crown Pacific! She makes sure I hear. You don't look so innocent anymore to me. Very, very strange. You guys witnessed what I witnessed. Little innocent Pauline sitting in the corner doing pearls from the Buddhas as a high-rolling casino bum. Move over, Henry. And she went to Australia to lose her money. You just did it somewhere in Sri Thomas with a bunch of friends in a back alley. Rude. That is so rude. So, anyway, that whole trip, buying food, getting food, buying food, getting food, buying food, getting food, or they went to the casino every single day. You want to go to the casino? I said, no, thanks. I saw it 5 times already. I was so bored. A, I don't gamble. I'm not allowed to gamble. I'm not allowed. B, I don't like to gamble, even if I'm allowed to. C, I didn't have money to gamble anyways. No money, what to do? I mean, truth be told, but I wouldn't even have had money. I don't enjoy it. And then, you know what? I walked all over that Casino Royale. Oh, casino what? A Crown. I walked all over CC, I tell you. Food, and then there were some discos upstairs. There were very uninteresting people waiting outside to get in. I looked, I said, no, I'm not going to grace your place. I did walk into one disco. I was so bored. Everybody was dead. There was a bunch of Australian kids hanging around there with yellow hair and pink hair and green hair, and they were like, and I was like, oh no, where's Paris? But I didn't know her at that time. and that's one. And the other option was to watch movies. They had big movie theaters there. You can watch movies. I don't know. Oh yeah, this one came out. The movie with Aaliyah where she was a vampire. Queen of the Dam. Queen of the Dam came. I don't know how many times I saw it. I had nothing to do. The biggest highlight of the evening is one of them went to buy a Rolex watch. I was like, oh, wow, we get to buy a watch. I was so bored. I'm sitting there watching. He's asking his wife, this one, this one, this one, that one, this one. I said, oh, buy it all. Let's go. I was so bored. And so one morning, I got up. I said, I'm going to visit a Dharma center because I went on the net to check the Dharma centers in Melbourne, and I found out there's a Tara center there. So I dragged them all there. We walked into the big place, and there was a huge Tsongkhapa with a hat. They had a huge place, and they took over a whole church. And then they had a gift area, they had kitchens, and then the grounds were green, and it was right next to a park, and there was a big park. It was all so beautiful. I was sitting there saying, oh my God, I rejoice, may it be mine. Oh, I love it. It was so nice. And then, they walked in, they were all right. They're Chinese people, and they're very respectful. They went there, made offerings, and they were asking why Tsongkhapa wear that hat, and I don't know. Here we go again. I said, I don't know, look it up. And anyways, and then we went back, and then, so that was a kind of interesting day. Then the next day they said to me, guess what we're going to do today? And I'm like, what? We're going to go to the aquarium. Aquarium? We're going to go look at fish? I flew all the way here to look at fish? They said, yeah. That's what all tourists do. What? Let's go look at the fish at the aquarium, and then we can think about where we want to eat. And I'm like, oh no, not again. And while they're eating lunch, they're thinking about Din Din. Thinking about Din Din, what they eat tomorrow. Oh, I am so bored. And then I said, I will skip the aquarium. They say, why? I said, I went to Sentosa, dear. That's the best aquarium because you can stand there and the fishes go over you. I said, no, it's okay. They said, but you know, the fish here in Australia are different, you know? Got fin, got tail, got gill, it's a fish, thank you. I don't want to go. They couldn't believe I was going to miss the aquarium. And then after that, they were going to go shopping for sports shoes. They were like, we're going to go shopping for sports shoes, you know? And I said, thanks, I got 2 feet and I got one. I don't need another one. So, and then the next day we woke up, they said, guess where we're going to go today? I said, I just can't wait. I can't remember the name and I don't want to. They wanted to drive 3 hours to some island and look at penguins. I said, 3 hours in civilized Australia? Can you imagine how far that is? And they got roads there, unlike Mungod, you know? I said, 3 hours you're going to drive there to look at penguins, you know penguins? I said, National Geographic, I saw. They couldn't believe it. They said, you can't see penguins in Malaysia, you know? I said, yes, I can. They said, how? I said, video. 3 hours. And they were so excited. And they're packing, what are we going to eat along the way? I'm like, here we go again. They drove 3 hours to, what's that island? Oh yeah, that's it, Phillip Island. And I said, how long are you going to stay there? They said, oh, maybe a half hour. I said, unless there's something to eat. I said, not the penguins, dear, it's against the law. They drove there for 3 hours, looked at the penguins, quack, 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 quack. I don't know what sound they make, run around, you know, tuxedos, and then they came all the way back. All of them were dressed up and nowhere to go, and they drove all the way back. They got back at evening, and they were like, oh. I said, how was it? They said, we saw the penguins. And I was like, oh, thank God I didn't go. And while they were there at Phillips Island looking at the penguins, you know, they were probably trying to feed them because they don't read the signs, don't feed the animals, right? I was running around downtown Melbourne, and I went into a Bob Marley hashish shop. They have those shops where they sell all types of drug paraphernalia, but no drugs. I mean, hint, hint. You're not allowed to sell drugs, but you can sell drug paraphernalia. So they had all these bottles and these, it's bubbly. And I'm like, oh, wow, interesting. It's not an Arab shop like here. It's not that. It's really hashish stuff. And they walk into their posters, you know, velvet posters that glow in the dark of marijuana leaves. And they have these beautiful black women with big afros all in velvet, and they're looking at you like that. And there's Bob Marley, and they have pins, peace signs, and they throw some Beatles inside, a little bit of John Lennon. Once in a while, you see Yoko, too. And I was looking through the posters. I came across a Tara poster. I said, I can't believe this. A Manjushri poster and a Tara poster in a Bob Marley hashish shop. I said, this is so cool. So I said, more. And it was my favorite Tara poster in the whole world. So I bought that. The other poster, Manjushri, I came back, gave Manjushri to Chia. Tara, I kept it, and I reproduced it. Because when I was in L.A., there was one lady there named Toby Rhodes, and she was a very big devotee of Tara. She's a student of Lama Yeshe, and she's a student of Geshe Tüdem Gyaltsen, and she lived in Tüdem Darjeeling Center. So I always remember she rented a room upstairs in the center, and she had everything on the floor. She was very simple, and she slept on a bed that was on the floor. She had no high furniture, no chairs. Everything was very zen. So she had one small table in the corner, and she had one poster of Tara. And it was the most beautiful Tara in a forest, and very simple and very green. And she had offerings in front. She didn't have all kinds of other kind of deities, nothing, just Tara. So it influenced me a lot. And that was my favorite Tara picture. And for years, I've been looking for that. Years. I got a little picture of it. I had someone here in Malaysia reproduce it, but it didn't come out to exactly what I wanted. So when I was running around Australia, I found that. So when they were in Phillips Island, I found Tara. It was so interesting, I tell you. So I walked around the city, and I went to the little... I was kind of cold, so I sat outside and had coffee and watched the people walking back and forth. I bumped into I bumped into Australia's most famous cross-dresser. It's this huge Australian guy in a dress. Huge. 6'3", 6'4". I think he's the, if I'm not wrong, Aboriginal or something. I'm not sure. Huge. He looked like a basketball player or something. He was tall and huge. And I was walking across the street, and I saw him in a mini skirt with thick legs, and his feet was this big. I tell you, they look huge. And they were in these pumps, these women's shoes. And it's not the shoes that's closed toes; it's open. It's open like that, just a strap, so you stick your toe in, you walk around, and the pumps are this high. And he was holding a little bag, and he had this, I don't know if it's his hair or wig, nasty lipstick. He was like, he looked like Fat Albert in drag. And he's famous because everywhere you go, they got postcards of him with really bitchy remarks. You know, it's got postcards of him like looking at you like this. Because I have some of the postcards, I like it. It's like this, and it's like, tell somebody who cares. I mean, real bitchy, or he's on the phone saying, even stars make calls. It's quite funny. So he's walking across the street while they're in Phillips Island. I'm standing there with my tar poster, looking at him walking across the street, and he was screaming because his shoes hurt him. He's like, ow, ooh, ow, ow. What a butch voice, strong voice. Ow, 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 ooh, ow. I was like, get some runners, man. Get some tennis shoes. I dare not, because I didn't want him to hit me with his bag. Huge. Bigger than Robert. Bigger than Koki. Wider, bigger, darker, stronger, really big. Can you imagine Koki in a miniskirt and pumps walking across the street? I mean, just visualize Koki in a wig with really nasty, thick lipstick, and Koki more tanned. And Aboriginal people are more tanned, you know, and more like that, but bigger. Same size. Wearing a one-piece dress that's a miniskirt with the legs sticking out and in little shoes, running across the traffic. And you know, those Australian roads are quite wide. It's not like here, you're there, right? They're really big. You know, you're not alert, you're a pancake. And he was walking across. It was so funny. Ow, ooh, ow, ee, ow, ow, ow. And I was like, hey, I just saw you in the postcard. I didn't go for an autograph. I didn't go up there because he didn't look like he was in a good mood. It was quite interesting. Anyways, my point is, I forgot what my point is. No, I had a deeper point than that. Now, I'm glad you guys are awake. I didn't forget my point. Now, what I'm trying to say is, I'm not talking to you from Shangri-La or from Tibet or from India, and I've never been there or done it. I've been there, done it, had it, all. I like it, and I'm attracted to it, and it's fun, and it's neat, but that's all. I'm not going to tell you, hey, I'm above it. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not above it. But I also know that there's nothing more to it. So it doesn't really entice me to go to Phillips Island. I like animals, but I can't do anything for them. Maybe scream some mantras at them. You know, when I go to Melbourne, no offense, Australia is beautiful. The people are very nice. I like the 24-hour supermarkets. But the casinos was so boring. It was so, I can't tell you how bored I was. It was the worst trip I've ever had. I was so bored, except for my little shopping expedition downtown by myself with the tower posters on. I was so bored, I can't tell you. Everybody's nice. If you tell me to live there, I would scream. Oh, it was so boring. It's unbelievable. I have no complaints. Maybe if I'm teaching Dharma or helping, that'd be different. Maybe my perception is different. So we have our habituations. We have what we've been doing for many lifetimes. I'm not trying to tell you here that I'm a Buddhist saint and, you know, I'm above all that. I'm not above all that. I'm not above, but it doesn't attract me. If I go see it once or twice, it's good enough. I understand it. And I don't put people down who are in it. Why? How can you put people down if you have compassion? If you don't have compassion, how do you develop compassion if you put people down? Why? The object of your compassion is to help them. So if you put them down, you don't help them. You can think, oh my God, it's an endless circle. How can I help? With a non-arrogant look. Pauline stopped smiling thinking about the casino in Melbourne. She's like, I didn't find it boring at all. She's sitting like, we don't need to be psychic to know what you're smiling about, Pauline. That's right. So Hong Kong was a little interesting because I like Lantau Island. I like walking around. I like being one of the tallest. And I like going there when it was cold because I can wear all kinds of nice jackets to cover up my love handles. That time. And it was fun. And they all thought I was a hunky. They did. I should have learned some Cantonese from Margaret before I left, but they speak English now. And the salespeople don't scream back at you anymore. The first time I went to Hong Kong, they screamed at me because I asked the price and I didn't buy it. Why you ask if you don't buy? How do I buy if I don't know the price? You waste my time. Yo. They screamed at me for asking the price for one yellow. It's not, I was like, what? I never got screamed at for asking a price except from a Korean in Los Angeles for asking a price of a bird. How much? It's blah, 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 blah. It's 15. Why so expensive? You want to buy, don't ask what. If I don't ask how do I know what to buy or not? Just like those Koreans, I screamed at them. And I told them, I'm American, you're not. So the Korean bird seller looked at me like, you American are? I said, yeah. That was years ago in Los Angeles. Habituation is from many lifetimes. And there are many lifetimes because we can logically look and check and say yes. We don't have the power of direct perception at this time, but we have the power of indirect perception or logic. We have. And it's important we do that. And what I explained and shared with you today, it's important to contemplate and think. Don't take this as a nice conversation. Don't think this is a nice little Dharma session. It's fun. Please don't. Don't waste your time thinking that. Don't attend Dharma like you're attending some entertainment session. You have to contemplate. You have to think. You have to think. It's very important. If you think about it, it will become more clear. You'll see your mind change. You'll see your focus change. Your focus change doesn't mean you don't care about things. It's you do it from a different motivation. If you do Dharma practice deep, you think that you become detached from your husband. You think you become detached from your wife. You think you become detached from your family, your children. You don't become detached. You love them more, but you love them on a more grander scale. And you help them from a bigger scale. More than just food and money, entertainment and company. Much more. You'll help them on a very grander scale. Why? Because your perception changes. Is that all? We just care about our kids for this life? Don't we care what happens when they die? Don't we care what happens when we die to them? How can we help them? Only by Dharma. Only by Dharma. And Dharma, what way? By changing our perceptions. How do we change our perceptions? By listening to the Dharma and contemplating on it again and again and again. If we don't contemplate on the Dharma, like anything in life, if we don't think about it again and again and again, it goes off. We forget. Human nature. That's what meditation is. Meditation is contemplation. It's contemplation. The reason we do breath meditation, is to develop contemplation, develop concentration and awareness in order to meditate on what I just talked to you about. Do you think getting enlightenment is just meditating on the breath? I don't think so. Buddha didn't meditate on his breath his whole life and his previous lives. I don't think the Dalai Lama sits here 6 hours a day meditating on his breath. No. Breath meditation is a tool to get to the actual meditation. It's a tool. Breath meditation is to create concentration and awareness in order we can go to critical meditation, analytical meditation. And the analytical meditation is based on knowledge that we have, so we analyze, and once we analyze, we come to a conclusion. That conclusion changes our habituations. So what do we meditate on? Everything I've taught you. Everything I've taught you for years and months and days. Everything I've taught you and explained to you. Take a subject out. If you've forgotten, get the CD, get the DVD. Listen to it. Listen to parts of it. Meditate. Especially the part I talked to you about the mind. Are you serious about meditation? Are you serious about practice? Some people think that people are crazy to come here and listen to Dharma talks, think they're insane. Actually, we're not the ones that's insane. We're not the ones that's insane. Why? We're trying to go higher. The people who are interested in food and money and sex and entertainment alone, those are the ones that are insane. Why? Where does that lead you to? Where does that get you to? The evidence of the sadness of that and the pursuit of that is all around us. All around us. All around. We don't even need Dharma to see the results of pursuing those things alone. We don't need Dharma. We can use our eyes. Therefore, in this busy time, in this busy era, in this busy situation, that we make ourselves busy, and we want fast results, and we want something simple but effective. What's more effective than Lama Tsongkhapa? What's more effective than Lama Tsongkhapa's meditation? What's more effective than Lama Tsongkhapa's Guru Yoga? So therefore, before we start the actual Dharma teaching, I want to give you, I will do a chant on Lama Tsongkhapa, just like I did yesterday. And while I'm doing it, you guys remember what I've said. And before I did this chanting, I gave you the motivation behind doing the chanting. That's why I spent over 1 hour and a half explaining the motivation. Why? Simply blah, 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 blah. The effect is very little. To meditate, knowing why, concentrate it, and to recite and chant. Chanting is not empty words. It has no power. Blah, 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 blah. It has no power. It is when you chant and you know what you're chanting and you have the motivation and the correct attitude, then it has results. Therefore, I spent 1.5 hours telling you the motivation we should have for Dharma talks, for life, for chanting, because it's very important. Very, very important. Very important. It is crucial for results of chanting. Because chanting is verbal meditation, combined with mental meditation, combined with physical meditation. Physical meditation is the pose the body is in, controlled, not doing negative actions with the body. Mental is when you actually focus on what you're chanting on and you visualize clearly, step by step by step, to create awareness and concentration and to invoke upon the powers of the three jewels. Why? By focusing on them, they become the doorway in which the three jewels enter. All beings need a doorway to enter into us. All beings. And the doorway that they can enter us through can be twofold: self-created or outward created. Outward created means someone does black magic or a spell on you and they make them follow you or do things to you. The second way is when we invoke them ourselves openly. When we invoke upon them openly, they come forth. Some stay, some go. Sometimes the door gets bigger and they stay. And the disturbances get more and more, or their so-called help in the beginning gets more and more. But we open the door. Once we open the door stays open. Similarly, for the higher beings, they also need a door to enter. So what's that door? Can be invoked by your Lama, by another person doing chanting, so the Buddhas come forth. Or self-invoke, the door opens ourselves. And that is what we're doing when we do Lama Tsongkhapa's chanting. So when we do Lama Tsongkhapa's chanting, when we do a Buddha Tara chanting, any of these enlightened beings chanting, the other beings that are around will be highly disturbed and highly unhappy. They feel threatened. If you have one shop and another shop open selling the similar items, won't they be threatened? Of course they'll be threatened. So if you have an enlightened being coming, those lower beings will feel threatened because they have the karma to be threatened because they're evil or they're negative or even if they're not negative, they're attached. They're attached to themselves. They're attached to praise and honor and love, and they're attached to you having a body and them not having a body. And sometimes they're very naughty. They want to enter your body. They're very naughty. Why? They're very attached to you having a body and they don't. And I'll tell you why. You can eat, you can sleep, you can engage in sexual intercourse. They cannot, and they're attached to that. You read the scriptures. They're attached to sexual intercourse and food and touch. And they go for thousands of years not able to touch. Dalai Lama described it in detail. Thousands of years they go, cannot touch. And they look omniscient. Why? When you ask them things, they know things. Why? They've been around for thousands of years, some hundreds of years. So they've seen everything. It's like talking to your grandfather. Your grandfather seemingly knows everything. Of course he knows more than you. Your grandfather knows more because they've been around for the last 50, 80, 100 years. If your grandmother's 120 years, she's going to know a lot of things. So if the spirit is around for 500, 600 years, they'll know a lot of things. So to you, a little innocent nobody, wow, they know everything. Wow, they're fantastic. Wow, they're omniscient. Wow. But actually, it's not wow. And if we open the doors and we invoke them, they come forth. When they come forth, they stay. Why? Why do they stay? They give you a little of what you need. They give you just a little bit of what you need. Why? To attract you to them to stay. It's like a pretty girl. She doesn't give it all. She gives a little. She goes, and then that's it. And sometimes she's, oh. And if you're very lucky, and then that's it, oh. If you're very lucky. If you're very, very lucky, all right? For some of us, we like pretty boys. So if you're very lucky, you see a little bit. But if you don't, whose phone is that? Can everybody lift up their purse or bags and listen to whose phone is ringing?